Good evening to you all. There is a famous saying that no person has ever been honored for what he received. Honor has been rewarded for what he gave. In this evening, we too are getting ready with you to reward a very special character to respect for what he gave to the country. We are ICOMOS Sri Lanka, which is the official national committee of the parent organization of ICOMOS International based in Paris. ICOMOS Sri Lanka is a professional body of individuals and representatives of institutions concerned with the conservation, protection, rehabilitation, and enhancement of islands' cultural heritage. Today, we have gathered in this cyberspace for a very special event, that is, to extend our gratitude to a very special character. As we all know, he is none other than Engineer Gamunu Silva. In order to make the welcome address to this virtual forum, now I cordially invite Professor Gamunu Adhikari, the President of the ICOMOS Sri Lanka.
The aims and objectives of ICOMOS. The recognition includes a citation and a medal at a public meeting of this nature. The medal is awarded as a Dr. Roland Silva Memorial Medal in honor of our beloved leader and mentor who left us in year 2020. The Council of ICOMOS Sri Lanka unanimously decided Engineer Gamunu Silva to be the worthy recipient of this medal in recognition of his outstanding services to the field of cultural heritage. I will not take your time to describe his outstanding contribution, since you are going to hear it soon from Joint Secretaries of ICOMOS Sri Lanka. I take this opportunity to congratulate Engineer Gamunu Silva and extend a warm welcome to him and Ms. Silva. I also extend a special welcome to the members of ICOMOS Sri Lanka, friends, colleagues, and family of Mr. Gamunu Silva for their presence to grace this occasion. A warm welcome to all of you again and hope you will enjoy the ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Adhikari. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Nilan Kure, the Joint Secretary of the ICOMOS Sri Lanka, to read the citation of Engineer Gamunu Silva.
Thank you very much. The President and the Council of ICOMOS Sri Lanka, the members of ICOMOS Sri Lanka, and distinguished invitees. It is great privilege placed upon me by the President and the Council of ICOMOS Sri Lanka to formally introduce a brilliant engineer with a passion to protect and conserve Sri Lanka's cultural heritage. Born on 20th May 1943 at Kalutara, Gamunu Silva studied at Ananda College in Colombo. He entered the Peradeniya campus of University Ceylon in 1962 and obtained Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Gamunu Silva's professional career commenced when he joined the State Engineering Corporation in 1967 as a mechanical engineer. Due to his interest in aviation, he also obtained training in aeronautical engineering from University of London by successfully completing Part 1 and Part 2 in aeronautical engineering in 1969, and currently an associate of the Royal Aeronautical Society in the UK. He is also a member of the Institute of Engineers, Sri Lanka. He was seconded to the Sri Lanka Air Force during the 1971 insurgency and served as a flight lieutenant of its volunteer force. In 1971, he married service at the Air Engineering at Superior College School of Construction Aeronautics in France from 1973 to 1975, and was awarded with a diploma in engineering in construction aeronautics. After returning to Sri Lanka from France, he was promoted to the rank of aeronautical engineer of the Sri Lanka Air Force. After completing 8 years of active service at the Sri Lanka Air Force, Gamunu Silva was released back to his permanent position at the State Engineering Corporation in 1979. Being a mechanical engineer specialized in aeronautics, his advent into the field of cultural heritage is quite unexpected, but interesting. Dr. Roland Silva, as the Assistant Commissioner of the Department of Archaeology, was restoring the Mahasaya at Mihintale in a speed to be lifted manually or mechanically upon the scaffoldings. He was thinking alternative means of lifting it to the top. Since Dr. Roland Silva was also serving as a director of the State Engineering Corporation at that time, he requested the SEC to provide a solution to lift the pinnacle. During the discussions, Dr. Roland Silva met young Gamunu Silva, who was introduced as a pilot and aeronautical engineer, in addition to his regular position as an engineer of the SEC. Dr. Roland Silva has inquired from Gamunu Silva whether the pinnacle could be airlifted and placed on top of the spire. Gamunu Silva responded positively to the suggestion of Dr. Roland Silva and engineered to airlift the heavy pinnacle with the use of a helicopter of the Sri Lanka Air Force and successfully placed upon the restored spire. This was the beginning of many of his innovative contributions made to protect and conserve Sri Lanka's cultural heritage. Gamunu Silva's engineering services were later sought by the Department of Archaeology for the landmark restoration project of the Mirisavatiya Stupa at Anuradhapura from 1991 to 1993. During the project to conserve the Maligawala Buddha image, which was broken into two pieces, that is head and the torso, and lying on the ground, Gamunu Silva worked initially as the assistant to engineer Dr. A.N.S. Kulasinghe, who was one of Sri Lanka's foremost engineers. Since the crystalline limestone torso, which was lying on the ground, was extremely heavy and slender in proportion, Dr. Kulasinghe was reluctant to lift it, as it could develop cracks due to its self-weight. His suggestion was to slice the torso into several pieces and lift and reassemble them, similar to the world-famous conservation work of Abu Simbel in Egypt. However, due to its religious values, authorities did not agree with Dr. Kulasinghe's suggestion of slicing the Buddha image into several pieces. After Dr. Kulasinghe quit the project came to a standstill. After the restoration of the Dambegoda Bodhisattva statue by the Department of Archaeology, people in the area requested the then President Ranasinghe Premadasa in 1989 that the Buddha image also to be restored, who in turn ordered the Department of Archaeology to initiate action. Considering the complexity and the engineering nature of the project, the department sought the help of the SEC. Gamunu Silva, the General Manager Technical Services of the SEC by that time, accepted the challenge of lifting the image to its original vertical position without cutting it into pieces. Using his vast field-based experience in mechanical engineering and utilizing the available resources at the SCC, as well as the support of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, he designed and assembled a purpose-made steel gantry to successfully lift the torso end block, weighing about 100 tons, to its original vertical position without any damage to the image. Such was the genius of Gamunu Silva. The restoration work was finally completed and the image was opened for veneration in 1992. The structural design and the construction implementation of the golden canopy for the Temple of the Tooth at Kandy by Gamunu Silva from 1990 to 1992 stand testimony to his extraordinary mechanical engineering knowledge and skills in using steel structural members with least impact on historically, archaeologically, and architecturally sensitive monument of the Temple of the Tooth. His love and passion for the heritage made him responsible for the design of space-frame steel protective structures conforming to the conservation needs as specified by the Department of Archaeology. For the Galvihara Buddha images and Thiwanka image house at Polonnaruwa, Aukana and Maligavila Buddha images, and over the excavated archaeological remains at the historic inner city of Anuradhapura, which are all reversible interventions. Gamunu Silva continued his journey of working for conservation of Sri Lanka's cultural heritage. The conservation of the mega stupas of Jetavana and Abhegiriya at Anuradhapura by the Central Cultural Fund from their very beginning, providing engineering inputs right from the establishment of the bull trench kiln to produce large size purpose-made bricks up to the completion of the conservation work. Gamunu Silva's engineering input was remarkable. His successful implementation of the project to consolidate the Tissa Stupa at Tissa Maharama, which had developed structural cracks by tying with several rings of tension cables, is remarkable. That these interventions are in keeping with the conservation principle of minimal intervention. Although Gamunu Silva had not followed a formal training in conservation, thanks to his close interaction and association with fellow conservation professionals and his willingness to listen to the conservation professionals, almost all his interventions to heritage sites and monuments, perhaps due to his mechanical engineering background, are solutions from a mechanical engineering point of view. The result was that all his interventions are reversible without any or with minimal impact to the historic fabric by removing all steel elements from their nuts and bolts. Gamunu Silva, using his numerous hats, contributed to manage the contractual aspects and coordination of engineering advice during the restoration of the Temple of the Tooth relic bombed by the terrorists in 1998. The close interaction with the staff of the Department of Archaeology and the Central Cultural Fund, who completed the restoration project within a remarkably short period to bring back the living religious function, Gamunu Silva was one of the strong pillars of this success story. His years of experience and his interest in heritage places gave him no time for relaxing, even after his retirement. He also served as a specialist advisor for the restoration of the existing Ranvata and the installation of the second Ranvata of the Srima Bodhi at Anuradhapura. He was also responsible for the structural design for the second spiral staircase to the fresco pockets of Sigiriya. Due to his immense capabilities and experience, as well as great sensitivity in working with heritage places, he provided his engineering advice for the conservation and development work at World Heritage Sites of Buddha Gaya in India and Lumbini in Nepal. Recognizing his immense professional contribution, Gamunu Silva was conferred with the National Honours Vidya Jyoti by the Sri Lankan government in 1993 and the Engineering Heritage Award in 2013 by the Institute of Engineers, Sri Lanka. Despite being one of Sri Lanka's topmost professionals, he never lost his common touch and moved very well with the ordinary workers and field staff, as the same way he did with his own professional colleagues. Gamunu Silva is a unique human being, and his unassuming personality has been highly respected, admired, and loved by all strata working in the field of cultural heritage. Due to his immense experience, knowledge, and skills in finding innovative solutions, Department of Archaeology and the Central Cultural Fund consider him as their lifelong consultant. Gamunu Silva is undoubtedly a unique professional who used his engineering skills in the most innovative manner to find technical solutions to many of the challenges confronted in the protection and conservation of cultural heritage close to 4 decades. In appreciation of outstanding contribution to the field of cultural heritage, the Council of ICOMOS Sri Lanka has unanimously decided Gamunu Silva as the worthy recipient of Dr. Roland Silva Memorial Medal and to confer upon him the first ever honorary membership of ICOMOS Sri Lanka. Sir, on behalf of the President and the Council, I respectfully invite you to accept Dr. Roland Silva Medal 2021 and the first ever honorary membership of ICOMOS Sri Lanka as token of appreciation of your unparalleled and illustrative career and distinguished service rendered for the protection and conservation of Sri Lanka's cultural heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kure. Next, the most awaited moment of this ceremony, awarding of the Dr. Roland Silva Memorial Medal for the year 2021 and the conferring of the honorary membership to Engineer Gamunu Silva. It is customary that the President of ICOMOS Sri Lanka to officially award the medal and the certificate. However, as we all know, that practice is not possible in a virtual forum. Therefore, the President and some of the officials visited the Engineer Gamunu Silva's residence this afternoon and physically handed over the medal and the certificate, conferring the honorary membership. Now, we are presenting you the video recording of that physical event. Now you can see the immediate past president of ICOMOS Sri Lanka, architect Gladys Herat, handing over the flower bouquet, and now the Professor Gamunu Adhikari, the president of ICOMOS Sri Lanka, awarding Dr. Roland Silva Memorial Medal and handing over the first ever honorary membership of ICOMOS Sri Lanka to Engineer Gamunu Silva. Thank you. Thank you. Engineer Gamunu Silva, sir, it is our privilege to honor a personality of your caliber and to have your distinguished name inscribed on the honorary members list of ICOMOS Sri Lanka. So, on behalf of the gathering today, I would like to call upon Engineer Gamunu Silva to make a brief acceptance speech. Sir, the floor is yours.
First of all, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not all this conversant with this new electronic gadgets. First of all, let me thank Dr. Adhikari and his ICOMOS team for picking out an obscure engineer from nowhere and honoring me with this. I was very embarrassed to listen to some of the stuff that you said just now. I myself had forgotten some of the stuff that is supposed to have been done on behalf of the Department of Archaeology and the Central Cultural Fund. But thanks to the giants on whose shoulders I got a chance to stand on, like Dr. Roland Silva to start off with, Dr. Senaka Bandaranaike, and lots of other doctors who came thereafter, Dr. Adhikari, Dr. Vijay, Nilan, and we all worked very closely together. And looking back, I find it very difficult even to believe that some of the stuff that was done by me. And I saw this picture, like raising of that statue. I remember I went for a lecture one day to the IESL and somebody asked me, I actually told them that the maximum amount of mathematics that I used was the ones that I learned in the A-level applied mathematics class. And that was good enough for me to lift the statues and everything. And of course, somebody there who's now a very famous person asked me, Gamunu, how do you get close to a president? And I said, I didn't get close to president. President got close to me because he had that knack of choosing the correct people to do the correct job. And also, because it was not easy working with him, as everybody knows. Many a time I have been threatened with sacking, then and there, demoting. The worst part was when once he threatened to close down my corporation, saying that such a corporation is no use if you cannot even lift a small statue that is there in the jungles. Well, even that threat of closing down the corporation kept on going for a long, long time. I think it is still on. And what else can I say? Thank you all very, very much for appreciating this little work I had done. And there are lots of people whom I should thank, mostly my workers who were not engineers. My workers were the ones who taught me because the Basunyas, in my opinion, were the best engineers that I came across. And with a cigarette and a cup of plain tea, we could exchange ideas and finish off very complex problems. So thank you all once again. Thank you all once again. And thanks to once again to Dr. Kulasing. Dr. Kulasing, of course, I don't have to thank him. He was my father and mentor. Without him, I wouldn't have done any of those things. I remember once when this statue was erected, my minister at that time was Felicitation, who used to work with me right along. And I had made a statement to the paper saying that Dr. Kulasing did the raising of the statue, and he comes around and says, what the hell, I was there. He didn't help you out. Huh? He was not even there when this happened. I said, sir, if not for him, I would have had the confidence even to touch a thing like this. The confidence that we all got, all the people at State Engineering Corporation, to do virtually whatever that was given to us was actually came from Dr. Kulasinghe.
Silva, sir, you can continue your speech. I guess you are here right now.
Sorry, I think I have said enough. There are a lot of people whom I would like to thank, but that would definitely take a long time. Because there were quite a lot of people who used to work with me from the CCF and the archaeological department. Some of who have departed, some who are still around and retired. And thank you all very much.
You're muted, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Now.
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please continue.
No, I'm not very good at making speeches, but if you ask me any questions, I can answer.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Gary.
How did the ancients do it? How did the ancients lift that huge statue up? Do you know?
That was easy. I worked it out. At least I thought I worked it out. When we were trying to actually erect the statue, we were not going to take we are not going to make it a freestanding statue without any support at all. So I had a prop put on the back of the statue to make sure it doesn't fall backwards. And to make that prop, we made a concrete block, which I believe, I can't remember now, about 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet, big block, which I had to excavate that area. And when we excavated the area, we found the chips of the statue, which means the big block was brought to the site. It was, how to say, it was pushed along and dropped into a hole, partly into a hole. And after that, I think using the Tedavers and things like that, they could have erected it straight up. And then the fin wall in the back, brick fin wall is the one that kept it upright. And the deterioration of that fin wall was the one that led to the demise of the statue. Gamunu, of course, knows the other one. That was the Bodhisattva statue, which gave us the inspiration even to try to lift this thing. I got to remind you again, Gamunu, that we continued some of the works that you started off in Lumbini.
Yeah.
And we had some money passed at the time, 78 million. And we then did all the work for 42 million. The first earthquake-proof building, which we designed by the State Engineering Corporation, was the one at Lumbini.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us. It's really amazing to hear those experiences by your own words. Since we are approaching to the end of this felicitation ceremony, I would like to now invite Dr. Gamunu Surya, the Senior Vice President of the ICOMOS Sri Lanka, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Dear Professor Adhikari, we also have the new DGCCF, Professor Anasinghe, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, and above all, Gamunu. It's a great pleasure. I'm so sorry that we couldn't do it physically. We should have had a big celebration for this. But it's a great pleasure to conclude this important event of awarding Roland Silva Medal and honorary membership to our dear friend and colleague Gamunu Silva. Personally, Gamunu helped me, and in fact, we worked together in two of the most landmark conservation projects, Mirsavetia and Temple of the Tooth Relic. There were days we traveled together to and from Kandy almost every other day. And we became friends, and he built up a confidence on us. I still remember, we built a confidence on him. I still remember the day. You know, the story is that after Dambegoda statue was erected, people in the area wrote to former President Premdasa saying the first thing you should have erected was the Buddha statue, not the Bodhisattva statue. And that letter is still in the files of the Department of Archaeology. And in fact, what the villagers wrote to him and said was, this area will be prosperous if the statue is erected. In fact, you can see how things have changed in that area. So he in turn asked the Department of Archaeology, okay, you have to, this is your task, you have to do that. And knowing President Premadasa and of course, Dr. Roland Silva and myself, our first meeting was with Mr. Vijaydas, the then secretary. And we said, because we had restored Dambegoda statue, this is different. And we told him, okay, we need Gamunu and of course, any other support. So that's how we started. But I remember a story, Gamunu, which you didn't share. When there was a delay in placing the head, you spoke to Mr. Vijaydas and said, so there's a slight delay. What Mr. Vijaydas said was, Enan Gamunu, Payage Bella Tianda Vei Kiyala. For the delay. So these were the challenges you faced. And of course, this has very interesting stories around it. And after starting the Mirsavetia Stupa restoration project, I was away for 1 year. And when I came back, there was a delay. But the opening day had been set by President Premdasa, and of course, on the first day of January, when I came, Gamunu was doing a Bahira Puja, building a small stupa at the site, so that 2/3 of the rest of the stupa will be restored. And of course, we took that challenge. And there were the other engineers were skeptical about us, but Gamunu said, no, they will do it. In fact, Gamunu had a Ottua with other engineers. Of course, to celebrate the Ottua, we had to go out of Sacred City and not Chiagamon after we won the Ottua, because that Ottua we couldn't enjoy in the Sacred City. Anyway, these are some of the nice memories. In fact, he also told me, I remember him telling me, Damini, they are going to offer me Vidya Jyoti. I'm very worried about it because I'm doing a lot of risky jobs. So that means if I get Vidya Jyoti, I can't do anything, wrong. So I said, no, don't worry, you won't go wrong. Go and take it. So those are very nice memories, Gamunu, to share with you. And there are many more stories which we will. Our simple honor, and let me thank the President, Dr. Gamunu Adhikari, and the Council of ICOMOS for the unanimous decision to award the 2 honors to Gamunu. And a very special thank to Nilan for his hard work for making this event a reality, and Mrs. Gamunu Silva for her support to make this event a success, and of course, for taking care of this wonderful person. I have to acknowledge some of our colleagues, Rasika Disanayaka, civil engineer from the department, Kadrugamua from CCF, Maya Upe, Karunaratna from CCF, and Kusum Priya from CCF, our good friend Sonali, and of course, finally, Ravini Vimala Surya. Of course, I have to thank many others, but I'm so sorry if I have missed, but we have to thank Gamunu. Some of you, like you mentioned one already, Dr. Kulasinghe, but your office, the State Engineering Corporation, the chairmen of those organizations, they release you for our work without any reluctance, and we can't name them all the time. And of course, and also your ministers, and sometimes he was the Prime Minister himself, and so on. So we take this opportunity to thank all those who supported you to help us, help Heritage Sri Lanka, and to achieve some of these things that we just heard. To the participants today, please accept our sincere appreciation for your joining this very important event. It's a great honor and great encouragement to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vijay Surya.
And now you can listen to the acceptance speech made by Engineer Gamunu Silva during the physical awarding ceremony held at his residence.
First of all, let me thank ICOMOS, the team, doctors, Adhikari, Nilan, all the people who have been ultimately contributed to this great honor which has been given to an obscure mechanical engineer who had no intention of ever becoming anything to do with archaeology. It was completely thanks to thanks to our former president who thought that there are people under his ministry who could do wonders, and I was picked up as one of those fellows. And the assignment that I got was, of course, that lifting at the pinnacle to the top of the Mihintale, Sae, because Dr. Roland Silva happened to be a director of the State Engineering Corporation. But the second one was really the Mirisvati, restoration of Mirisvati Mahasaya. When I started off, I had absolutely no clue as to how to even put a brick, because I'm not a civil engineer. And of course, only advantage I had was I got to know that I didn't know anything, therefore I had to ask everybody. I used to ask the masons, the carpenters, the engineers, the great engineers, everybody. And everybody contributed to the method that is used eventually. At that time, there was a controversy between two of the great engineers, Dr. Balasurya, who's no longer here with us, and Dr. Kulasinghe, who insisted on using concrete with reinforced concrete for the restoration works, and Dr. Balasurya, who had actually come out with a new material, which is now common now, but it was very new material, geotextiles. And I was the man in charge, but I did not know which one to take because both those people were my gurus. If you were to pick one fellow, the other party will get angry. So one day we are having a drink at OPA, and one of my another engineering friends said, so I mixed up the geotextiles with concrete, and we ultimately made a geotextile concrete net. That's how we did the conservation works of this first stupa.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there, and it came out well. At that time, we did not have money to buy stainless steel reinforcements, so we used normal tow steel from the Russians. Of course, we sandblasted it until all the rust was taken off, and applied dozen coats of preservative paints on top of that, and it started corroding after that. And of course, other party was that Mirisavati was the starting point for building standard bricks. Now, we could not find standard engineering bricks in this country. The standard engineering bricks in this country was not standard at all. All the bricks are of various sizes, and the strengths were of various sizes. So ultimately, we had to make machines to test the compressive strength. And Peradeniya University came out at that time with their computers to let us know that there is a new method called finite element analysis, which can use only very fast computers. And they did the analysis and said the minimum strength that you require for a brick is 500 psi. And we couldn't find anybody who could make 500 psi bricks. Why? Because the clamp kilns that were burning all the bricks could not come up with that temperature. Ultimately, we had to send two parties, actually one party to India to learn how to make bricks in one of their kilns, Hoffman kilns. And we copied two of those kilns in Sri Lanka, one at Anuradhapura and one in one of my workshops in Mandala. Both those things are still working, and of course the bricks were so good. In fact, this house, my own house, was built on wall with no reinforcement, no columns and thing. I used the very same high strength bricks which we produce for the Ministry Mahasaya. So that is one contribution that Mr. Premadas had done for the country. He taught people after a lot of effort how to make good bricks. Then after that, of course, I don't believe in gods and people like that, but there was a time when I was told in no uncertain terms, unless I go and lift up some statue in the jungles of Maligavila, that they will ultimately have to shut me. Not only shut me, that was not a bad thing, I could have found a job, but they said they were going to close down the corporation, State Engineering Corporation, which took a lot of effort to build. So ultimately, I took a group of about 50 people to the jungles of Maligavila, and accompanied by my wife, who used to do the cooking for us. And I spent 3 weeks in the jungles with mosquitoes, LTT tigers, and we used to travel there on a daily basis in the morning and come back in the afternoon because it was not a fit place for anybody to live. And somehow or another we ultimately managed to lift the statue, with, of course, I believe, with the help of God. Because when the statue would not even budge even a millimeter, with all the efforts I made, we ultimately thought that it was time for us to appeal to the gods. So we had, in my team of 50 people, we had Muslims, Catholics, Christians, Buddhists of various denominations, and I told them that unless this comes up, we are all going to lose our jobs. September 31st, I can't remember the year, you all will have to leave this place and go. And I had already given my resignation, backdated, because if they, all of a sudden you go and give your resignation, they cut off your salary for a month. So I gave my resignation letter to my secretary and said, you give it only after 1 month after I had left. And you can always say, this was there in your drawer, I forgot to give it. So anyhow, I had to take it back because I ultimately managed to lift it at the last moment. The gods did intervene, and the god ultimately happened to be a regional god from that area. And we went and appealed to all the big gods, and nobody came to our help. And this regional god in the premises, somebody said, that's another god, we have not appealed to him. We went and appealed to him. Within hours, not within hours, within minutes, the statue started lifting up. And there are many other wondrous things that happened, not only with that one, even with the Mirisavati Chaitya. You may not know that Mirisavati Chaitya also got into an impasse like that, where nothing would happen up to a particular point, and it just wouldn't move. And I remember Honorable Vijay Roghavandar, who was at that time the minister, he was scouted down by the big fellows who used to be there, the minister and Mr. Sirisena Kure, and lots of big wigs. And I remember when the archaeology department, that was the time of Gamudavas, and everybody had a lot of faith in these subcontractors. So the minister said, let's give it on subcontract to somebody. And I happened to be an engineer at that meeting, and I said, sir, you cannot get archaeology done through subcontract. And I got thoroughly blackguarded by everybody there. And I remember Vijay Roghavandar coming and patting me on the back. Thank you for taking all the flag for us. You spoke on our behalf. And ultimately, we managed to do the thing without any subcontracting. Well, after that, things that happened to be is a kind of like a juggernaut. We got involved. I think Nilan was around. We got involved with Jetavanaram, Abhegiriya, and this strapping the that was also a funny story. The cracks appeared during the time of Mr. Premadasa, and there were 17 cracks if I remember right. And I was given a letter saying that go take a look at these cracks. And I couldn't go. I had become too big by that time, not even to listen to Premadasa. So one day one of his secretaries came and said, Gamunu, have you been to this place to take a look? I said, no, I haven't. He said, you better go. If it was anybody else, they would have been sacked already. So next day I went. And I thought it was those were all plaster cracks, and I found that it was not plaster cracks. They were big structural cracks where I could even put my fist through. And I wrote a letter saying the structure is totally impaired. without saying how to remedy it, totally impaired, virtually warning the president that one of these days it will come down. So he said, no, you can't allow that to happen. If it comes down, that's the biggest stupa in South. If it comes down, the whole political system will fail, so you got to keep it going. And I told Professor Dernegale, sir, what do we do? He said, let it fall. Because we don't know when it was built, no records as to who built it and when it was built and what was. So let it fall, then we can actually start from the scratch. And of course, then the Hamduru, incumbent President Hamduru said, Mahatto එහෙම වෙන්න බෑ. මගේ ළඟ මිලියන 4ක් තියෙනවා. මිලියන 4යි මගේ ළඟ තියෙන්නේ. පුළුවන් සෙල්ලමක් දාන්න කියලා. ඉතින් මං කිව්වා යාන්ත මිලියන 4ට ගන්න පුළුවන් ස්ටීල් කේබල්ස් ටිකක් කරනවා අපි බඳිමු ඩෝක කියලා. නිකන් පෙට්ටියක් බඳිනවා වගේ. හොඳ කියලා. So actually we started tying up. And those temporary tie-ups are still there. It was meant to prevent a catastrophic failure at that time, and some engineers are supposed to look for permanent solutions, and we haven't gone for any permanent solution. It's still like that. So, although I have some idea as to what got to be done, now other things like roofs, that is Professor Gamunu Silva's work. He is the one who one day said, you know, in America I have seen these kind of roofs, very modern looking roofs made out of steel to cover these monuments. And we actually at that time have not done any analysis of space frames. And I had a toy computer, a 286, IBM 286 toy computer, which could not take that kind of a load. And load some 3,000 odd elements. So I went and asked Moroto, there was Dr. P.A.D. Silva, who was the head of the mechanical engineering. He had some software. And then asked him, sir, can I use your computer to do an analysis? He said, can, I want 75,000 rupees. So I paid 75,000 rupees for just running the program. It was only, actually you can't run the whole program. I ran for all segments of the program and ultimately it turned out to be okay. And so you must thank not me, Professor Gamunu Silva for the idea of the space frame. And that space frame actually got extended. We started off with the main stupa, and then after that for the reclining stupa, then the connection between the two. Thereafter we did two for, what are the other places? This Tivanka and places like that, yes. So, some of the stuff that we had done until you reminded me, I could have forgotten. We did some work in India. That was the Lumbini. And that was all started by Dr. Gamunu Silva. And of course he couldn't stay in the department. He left, and it was almost befell on me to ultimately continue the good work. And the golden railings and whatnot was actually, of course I was not very proud of them, but we did those. We did one railing in India, one railing here in Anuradhapura, and we actually did another design for the Ananda Bodhi in India. And they said, no, we will do it ourselves, we don't want you to do that. So the design is with them, they have not done it yet, I don't know. So all I want to say is thank you very much for kicking me into this part, which was quite by chance, and it is even bigger chance that I got an opportunity to wear this medal for the first time. And one person who's almost like my father is Dr. Roland Silva, and I'm very happy to wear his medal. Thank you very much.
And before that, I would like, before the end, I would like to remind you that the ICOMOS AGM will be held at 5 p.m. today, and if you have to use the other links for that access. So this marks the end of this brief online felicitation event, having the hope of meeting again at another valuable event of ICOMOS Sri Lanka. Before you press the leave button in your Zoom app, I will put you this following quote. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the appreciation is not just to utter words, but to live by them. So thank you very much again for your participation and have a nice evening. Thank you.
Thank you.